Hello. What's up? What's up? Had a little bit of chaos this morning. Hopefully, my dogs act like they have some sense. It's been a mess. You'll notice a microphone that I hope is working. Unless I don't know. I could be talking to myself. Very possible. But it would be amazing if you guys would like the video and then, speak in the chat. Say, hey, what's up? We can hear you. Give me a thumbs up. Let your girl know we alive. Oh, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. I'm Kioka, the awkward black nomad. If you are new here, I don't know if nobody's new here, but I am a writer. I'm a dog mom. And I'm a solo traveler. Sometimes I do all those things at one time, like I did last year when I traveled to Europe with my dogs. It was a mess mostly, but I enjoyed it. I'm coming in loud and clear. Thank you, Eileen. So my channel is for Black women who are interested in solo traveling, but might be a little introverted. I'm an introvert myself, believe it or not. And, I did this thing and I want everybody else to do this thing. Today, I want to talk about some of the lessons I learned while traveling by myself. But, maybe just have a chat. I'm trying to fall back in love with my hair. I did a wait until exhale thing and I cut off I didn't cut it off, but I trimmed it myself. I think I trimmed too much, child. Out here looking like I'm not going to be anti-black, but out here looking, I don't know. We're trying to love her. I just took some scissors. It's not even all the way around. Took some scissors and I trimmed my hair myself. This is what we got, right? I also yesterday watched the new Tyler Perry movie. Don't throw stones at me. Don't throw tomatoes at me, please. It's called Divorce in the Black. It actually wasn't that bad. Like, because we have to compare Tyler Perry movies to other Tyler Perry movies because we can't compare them to anything else except maybe like a Tubi movie. I would say it's on par with The Family That Prays. Okay. Did anybody else watch it? No? I don't know. As everybody gets here, just want to remind people that we speak in a Black family. So everybody come say hi in the chat, like the video. I want to direct everyone to, I actually put a guide together to give tips for traveling as an introvert. You can click the link in my comment section. I'm actually going to put it in the description box as well. Just practical tips that I've learned, that I've done myself. I think what's interesting about traveling solo is there really isn't a space for people who are introverts doing it. I always felt like the travel content that I was consuming was always people who couldn't get a group trip together. That's not my case. I don't even have a group. I can't muster 10 people to go to Cabo. I don't know 10 people. Of the 10, I don't know 5 people who got passports. I probably only know a handful of people. At least I avoid the new Tyler Perry shows. That's fair. That is fair. I have a lot of Tyler Perry critiques. Hi, Maya. Hi. Everybody make it. Come on in the room. Anybody else grew up in church? This is not about to be that. And it's a Friday. I hope everybody had a good week. And I hope this is a good end to your week. What was I saying? Yeah, so I can't muster up 10 people to go on a group trip with me. So me traveling solo was not in response to something. It was always going to be me traveling solo because ain't got nobody else to travel with. Don't know no people. I mean, I know people now, right? But it was only after I started traveling that I actually met people. And so now I probably could corral somebody to come with me to Mexico, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so yeah. So as an introvert, I feel like traveling is a little bit different, right? Because for me, I like to find quiet places. I like to do things that I like to do. And that maybe is not the same as what people are posting on Instagram. No shade to the girls who post on Instagram, but I remember one of my friends, she's actually someone on my channel, the Bougie Nomad, Vashana. She was texting me from, I think she was in South Korea at the time. And, that's when we decided that Homegirl needed a journal because I was like, you using WhatsApp as, an entry and the time difference is not lining up. Like there was a clear moment where it was like maybe 6 a.m. where I was, and she's texting like these long paragraphs and writing things like, I'm sitting at a cafe and I'm thinking about how vast I don't remember. I'm not going to give you her business, but like, I was like, girl, this would be a great journal entry. Not something you need to share with me. Love you though. But my point is, she was at the time doing something that a lot of people do, right? She was like, when people come to Korea, they take a picture at this thing and they go, I think it was like a meditation. I don't remember. But she was like, but it's boring here. I'm bored. And, in true extroverted fashion, she found some people to go bother. And it became a fun experience. But if it's something that you genuinely don't like to do and you wouldn't do it by yourself, I recommend not putting it on your list, right? A big part of this is self exploration, figuring out what you like to do by yourself. And maybe that's not where people are going to take photos, but if it helps you feel happy, then you should do it. Am I right? Can I get a hand clap of praise? I said I wasn't gonna get churchy. I don't know. I'm not a churchy person. I think I'm not a churchy person, but I think when you're like raised in the church, the lingo always comes back to you. Excuse my nails. I told myself I wasn't gonna talk with my hands today because I need to get my nails done. And I also look kind of bummy. It's an Aaliyah shirt. Can you see? It's an Aaliyah shirt. We comfortable. It's a Friday. The weekend's about to start, you know? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Make your way in, get settled. Does everybody have a libation? Do we all have our beverages? Um, we were talking about Tyler Perry. Bless his heart. I feel like me talking about Tyler Perry as a writer who is like, I don't want to big up myself, but me talking about Tyler Perry, I have critiques. I have notes. We can talk about what he's done for like the Black community as a whole. We can also talk about what he's done negatively for the Black community in terms of like our depictions on television and film, in terms of like the Tyler Perry studios and the homelessness crisis in Atlanta. We don't need to get into that long video. But the movie was cute. I'll say that. As I said, like I was gagging, I was screaming. There were scenes where I literally was screaming. And I don't know if he meant it to be funny, but I laughed. But yeah, we're gonna need Tyler Perry to start hiring some Black writers. Okay. He can direct his movies himself, but we're gonna need the budget to be spread. That's all. And we gotta get off Tyler Perry because it's gonna be a whole thing. So anyways, lessons I learned while traveling abroad. Okay, Dee's drinking her morning magnesium. Yes, magnesium is great for stress. A lot of people don't know that there are different kinds of magnesium. Um, so there's a magnesium that's really good for mind and mood. You can drink it Usually people drink it before nighttime because it helps with sleep. Uh, yeah. A lot of people don't know that they may be magnesium deficient as well. I know a weird amount of information about certain ingredients because I work in the supplement industry as a copywriter. So, sidebar. Um, so yeah, back to travel tips and lessons. So, I feel like we can just get a section of this conversation out the way. Safety. You gonna be traveling by yourself, okay? But as my grandma used to say, common sense ain't common. But we're gonna need you to find some, okay? Don't be giving your information out to strangers. Don't tell people that you alone. You know that. You wouldn't do that in Compton. So why would you do that in Paris? Okay. You don't need to be from the streets to be street smart. Use your brain. That's what it's for. Some of this stuff, I feel like, I'm not gonna hold you. A lot of the information that we get, especially in the US, comes from fear mongering, right? They want to make you afraid to travel alone. But 85% of solo travelers are women. We all not getting yanked up outside. Now, there is a genuine fear about getting yanked up. Not gonna hold you. But if you are keeping your head on a swivel, if you are being just watchful, right, and doing safe things, then you should be okay. All right. I feel like fear is one of the barriers that stand in the way of people doing what they actually want to do. Um, yes, RA, magnesium is also good for A lot of people don't know that. If you take magnesium after your workout, it actually helps your muscles heal. Uh, Not heal, but like, you put a lot of strain on your muscles when you work out. You can actually take magnesium and it'll help with your recovery. A lot of people don't know that. Um, what's my point? If I watch the comments and then talk, I have such ADHD. Yes. So yes, be aware of your surroundings. There's this little door thing. Yes, Ra as in the sun god or RA as in your initials. What's happening? But yes, you are distracting me. But yeah, be aware of your surroundings. There's a door stopper thing that a lot of people use in their hotel rooms. Don't tell people that you're traveling solo. Um, yeah, these are just common sense things. The only reason I stress the thing about the fear mongering is because I remember I was in the UK and I had planned to stay in France for a month. I was going to do 2 weeks in Paris and then 2 weeks in Toulouse. I actually talk a little bit about this trip when in my most recent dog video, where I talk about how my dogs got rejected at the airport. So we actually took a long trip from the UK. We took the Channel and then we rode into Calais, I think it's how I'm always mispronouncing French words. And then I rented a car and we drove down through France into Spain. Excuse me. So it was supposed to be a long trip, and I was supposed to stay in France for a month. There were riots at the time. I don't like to call them riots. There were protests. Something was going on in the French government that I can't remember right now, but the footage of it was like alarming. Okay, I remember my aunt calling me. She was like, "They are burning trash. It looks unsafe. People look angry." They canceled my hotel. And then they rebooked it. It was so weird. They're like, "We're gonna cancel your hotel, but yeah, no, not my hotel, my flight." They canceled my flight and then they rebooked me on a later flight because they were like, "It's not a good time to come in." And I was like, "Well, if it's not a good time to come in, I'm not coming. It's my first time." It was my first time in Paris, my first time in. So I ended up canceling my trip, and then later on, I met people, Americans who were staying in France, in Paris, and in the south of France, and they were like, "Oh, it was fine. It was okay." I mean, protesting in other countries is different than protesting in the US. So in France, everything is scheduled. Yes, they were closing down the Louvre, but it was very structured. We're going to close the Louvre down between 2 and 5. You can come from 5 to 7. You can, you know what I mean? Like everything's on a schedule. Even in the UK, when there's a strike, they tell you, they let you know, listen, these lines are going to be down because there's a protest. You can still, it's just going to take you a little bit longer to get to where you need to go. Very structured. Um, so yeah, the reason why I feel like people use fear to kind of control how you travel is because my whole little trip was ruined. I mean, I still drove through France, but I definitely didn't stay as long as I would have liked because I was worried about things. And when I did ride around, because I actually I drove through Paris, I drove through Orléans, I stayed in Toulouse for a couple nights. You couldn't even tell me there was protesting going on. Nothing was happening. Now, maybe it was the parts that I was riding by, but I was like, where the people at? You know? So don't let fear dictate your destination. Okay, that's something I learned. Another thing I learned is they got stuff over there. Okay. Whether it's hair products, whether it's dog food, whether it's toiletries, they have that over there. Now you do want to bring yourself a washcloth, okay? And you might want to carry some wet wipes with you because, and this is not a European thing. I think this is the black thing. I don't think the cleanliness is up to par. All right. But as far as like what you should bring, I think when I started traveling, I had full size bottles of miel. I had containers of dog food because I just didn't want to get to a place. Now, mind you, so like if you're traveling with dogs, this is something separate. You should be bringing the food that your dogs are used to eating. That way you can find something to mix it in and then adjust their diet very slowly. But the brands that I use they were available in Europe. So do a little bit of research and see what kind of products they have already there and what you may need to substitute. A big thing for Black women is our hair. So I'm of two minds, all right? I'm of two minds. A part of me feels like, I should be one of those natural girls who just, I need to take tree leaves and run through my coils, and I need to just, pluck a berry off a vine and just, this is what I'm using in my hair. I'm using fresh olive oil. I want to be that girl. I want to. And I was, when I first started my natural journey, I was that girl. I was like, buying shea butter and making my own oils and all this other stuff. It's a lot of work. Okay. And at the moment, I am married to my products. Um, but I think something to learn from this experience, at least for me, is that, you're not going to the moon. You're going to places where even if there's not a huge Black population, there's curly textured hair in certain places. Now, Barcelona was a desert. Okay. Barcelona was a desert in terms of hair products for Black women or people with curly hair. But in other places, you should be able to find something. Um, while I don't think I'm ever gonna be one of those like supernatural girls, like pulling things from the earth and putting them in my head, add olive oil to the shampoo. Add olive oil to the deep conditioner. Letting their conditioner sit on your head longer. I have a hair video where I talk about some of this stuff because I was having a hard time finding things to put in my hair when I was in Albania. Um, so find things that work for you. Don't put all that stuff in your luggage. Believe as somebody who I still have back pain, okay, from carrying things that I thought I needed with me. Please stop. Your toiletries, they got toothpaste over there. What kind of toothpaste do you like? Sensodyne? They have that. Find a toothpaste that works for you. Do your research. There's no need to be bringing like full size toothpaste, full size deodorants, whatever it is, right? And I'm definitely not somebody who is team carry on, but that's just because I have a problem. I have a shopping problem and I have a packing problem. I like options. We need to talk about that. But as far as like toiletries, as far as like hair care stuff, pack light on that because you can find that wherever you are. Um, Another thing that I learned while traveling, anybody, hi. I just want to remind you again to like the video and speak when we come into the room. You know how black folk do. We say hi, hi, everybody, hi. Angela says she's team carry on. Not me. I don't know how do people do. I don't know how people do that. Because even when I use the vacuum seal, those like travel things, I still end up packing too much. And then it's heavy because you have to worry about weight. Anyways, what's my point? Yeah, so I learned that I could do hard things. My biggest hang up with traveling abroad was actually talking to people. Um, so even most recently, I went to London last month and I told this story on Marissa's channel, Marissa Price. I had every intention to go to the Black Culture Archives and see the exhibit, but they thought that I was like a student, and it's actually ridiculous when I think it's ridiculous. There were so many times where I could have stood up for myself and like stopped, but I was just so frazzled internally that I ended up like going to their library, their research library. Like I was signing forms, like I signed consent forms, and I never saw the exhibit. I spent 4 hours there. So I like to read. So I wasn't suffering. Okay. But I went there with the intention of going to the exhibit. And because I kind of got swept away by like social interactions that I just did not, I don't know, is it considered advocating for myself? Like it was just difficult that day to tell people, hey, no, I'm not a student. I actually came to see the exhibit. They just assumed that I was a research student. I think it's the glasses. Sometimes people think because I wear glasses, like I'm a teacher. And I'll say, she drinks her water. She's youthful. She gives college, doesn't she? Doesn't she give college? um, yeah. But yeah, I spent 4 hours. I found some really great books on uh like Black British in fiction, like Black British depictions in fiction, and also the relationship between Black women. I read this book called Daughters of Africa, and I was like, there's a lot of Black Americans here. Don't get me started. This is a whole other conversation. But yeah, so I spent 4 hours reading at the Black Culture Archives. Unintentionally, I enjoy a good book, but it was a day where maybe I could have advocated for myself. Maybe I could have like stood up for myself a little bit more and not ended up in a library and actually went to the museum part. Um, but it's just hard. Like, I get it. As an introvert, like, sometimes my social battery is just really spent, and as a result, I just can't stand up for myself. Um, I and it gets difficult, and I will tell you this, but it's also something that I struggle with. Have a script for talking to people, okay? Because this situation is making me think about times where I was in a country, maybe they didn't speak English, and I was lost. And so for me, when my social battery is kind of drained, I'll keep walking in the same direction knowing I'm lost. Okay? Because I don't want people to see that I'm lost. or because I don't want to talk to people and ask for directions. That is not good. I'm telling you that I do this. I'm admitting. Is this a safe space? Is this a safe space? One of the ways to remedy that is to just have a script, right? Prepare yourself. Okay, I'm going to go somewhere. There's a chance I may get lost. Let me come up with a little plan for myself. I'm going to find someone to talk to that is friendly looking, and I'm going to have things prepared to say. Have like, if you're in a country where they don't speak English as the first language, don't assume that people speak English. Have a couple of phrases under your belt in whatever language that is. People are nicer to you when you know their language. I do understand that sometimes that's a little intimidating. Um, but again, like, you're building a tolerance for these things. So if you push yourself just a little teensy bit, you don't have to push yourself a lot. Just a little teensy bit to push yourself and stand up for yourself a little bit. It'll pay off. Okay. Because there's been so many situations where I probably needed some help, but I didn't want to talk to nobody. And I think that's good. That's okay. Right. But sometimes you need to talk to people, you know. RA says, I guess I could put comments up here. I always forget I could do that. Do you recommend using any apps for translation? I mean, it's a corny answer, but Google translates the easiest that comes off the top of my dome. Um, Eileen says, I'm afraid to talk to strangers, but I'm getting better about looking for a friendly face. It's an uphill battle. Okay. You don't just wake up and be a person who is able to deal with people. You get me? And sometimes I'm really good at it. Sometimes I'm really terrible at it. Like, I should be ashamed of myself sometimes because I think, I've come so far and yet I can't ask for directions. You just get anxious. And, we're not trying to be cured yet. So I think it's just more practical to find things to do when you're feeling anxious, to kind of like navigate the situation. You may figure it out yourself, but you may also end up in a library for 4 hours like I did. I enjoyed myself. I'm not gonna lie. I did enjoy myself. Which comes to my second point. Always have a plan, right? Have a plan for yourself. For me, planning helps take some of my anxiety away. So if I know where I'm going, I know what I'm doing, if I've looked things up ahead of time, I feel confident enough to go out on my own. So yeah, so planning bus routes, not me getting text messages. Let me mute my phone. Don't text me, girl. The laptop is connected to the phone. Not her apologizing. My friend's online. Oh, okay. I don't know how to turn it off now. Can you guys hear this? I just found out who RA is. It's my friend Rabia. All right, we're gonna go on focus mode. We're going on focus mode. A mess. What was I even talking about? D says, if I get a hold of you, the library business is over. Listen, I'm not gonna change in a day. Extroverts will not get it. That's why I'm saying. That's why it's so important to have travel content for introverts, because extroverts are like, you could just go and talk to somebody. By myself? What is it necessary for? Faith says, even with an app, it feels like it would be hard. It is hard because you're pushing yourself. 100%. Like, it's difficult. You're doing a difficult thing. Like, yes, it's not, laying brick outside in the heat, but it's hard for you. It's difficult for you. It's difficult for me. Talking to people is like, it's also very draining. Do you know what I do after these lives? I take a nap. Take like a 2-hour nap because I deserve rest. Which brings me to my other point. Take a nap. But I think it's so important. So, like for me, I built in rest. I slow travel. When I was bopping around, I would stay 1 to 3 months in each place. And in that time, it allowed me to build in rest days. Because the reality of the situation is I be drained. You're in a foreign country, you're having to talk to people, you're lost most of the time, you're in a new place, you're trying new food. Like it's shocking. It's a culture shock. You have a lot of different things going on at the same time. Girl, take a nap. Okay, get some rest. I'm exhausted. Even travel days are so tiring for me. And it's not even because like I've been on short flights and still needed to rest after traveling. Just because the anxiety in my body, the stress in my body of like remembering my passport, finding my gate. Did I eat? I usually don't eat on travel days. That's nothing. Eat some food. Like these things and nurturing yourself and being kind to yourself. Yes, it's amazing that you've decided to travel and that you're doing it alone. That's wonderful. But don't go crazy. Ain't no need to go crazy. Chill out. Chill out. Get some sleep. I love building rest into my travel days. You know, when I first started traveling, I think I had this idea that I was going to be one of the girls who I only need a week in a city. 3 of those days I'm going to be inside. So what I need longer than a week. When I first get to a place, the first week is sketchy. We might find a coffee shop. We might find a park for the dogs. And even if you take a look at my dog training video, the video I did with the dog coach, Daphne says if you can afford to do this, don't bring your dog out 3 times a day every day when you go to a new place when you're traveling. Wait till they get comfortable with the environment first. Wait till they get comfortable with new accommodations. This is a new house with new smells. You are the same. You're getting adjusted to a new environment. Your body needs to adjust. I think people have to get past this idea that you constantly need to be pushing yourself towards something. One of the things I learned after leaving the US, Lord knows I'm back, child. I'm over it. But when I left the US, it's like my pace got slower. My days got slower because not everything was a rush, not everything was a priority. I remember I was speaking to this man in Germany and we took a road trip into France. And he's French. And so he was telling me, I think so we had packed up the dogs. We had stopped at a cafe and I was like, okay, I'm gonna run in and grab the croissants and the coffee and then we can hit the road. Homeboy was like, eat in the car? And I was like, yeah, so we can get on the road. But he's like, why can't we just sit at a table and eat the croissant and have a coffee and enjoy our morning? And I was like, don't you want to get on the road so we don't have he's like, there's time to eat. And that was a new idea for me because in the US, it's hustle, 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 go, go, go. But this idea that, hey, there is time to eat. There is always time to sit and eat. Why are you in the car eating? He thought I was crazy. I think that's crazy now to eat in the car because you're on the go. eating in the car. Just as a sidebar, stop eating in the car. You better sit down and digest your food and chew properly. Not a lecture in the morning. I'm sorry. Let me change my energy. But it was just very shocking to me that, you know, that I felt the need to rush on my vacation because essentially that's what it was. You don't even realize you're rushing until you get to a place where nobody rushes. You're like, why am I so impatient? Wait, Angela said, Angela said, from I can't talk to strangers to I am road tripping across Europe with a man. Um, Mind your business. I could talk. Just because you're introverted doesn't mean you can't promenade with the gentleman caller. Anyways, um, another one of my tips is find places to hide. Okay. That sounds a little strange. That sounds a little strange to some people. But as an introvert, your social battery, you already on 5%. You maybe could muster up a 10 because you went outside. Can you imagine when there's hordes of people walking around, draining your energy? Find some place to hide. Just to get a little like, I don't know, just to get a little zap, just to give yourself a moment to breathe. For me, I like to scope out, stairwells, sometimes in the daytime, an alleyway. Sometimes, if you are, I remember I found a smoking station that didn't have a lot of people in it, but it was like inside of a mall. Just take a couple of minutes for yourself, um, to just be more present, to take a break from all the people, to get your mind together. I think for me, and I don't know if this is true for a lot of people, when I start to feel like really anxious, it's really hard for me to think clearly. And when you're traveling by yourself, your brain needs to be on. Okay. You need to we talked about common sense earlier. Okay. You need to be able to figure out where you're going, figure out what you're doing, know where your money at, use your translator app, whatever it is. There's a list of things that you need to remember. And sometimes when you're surrounded by a bunch of people, worried about having to go and talk to a person, ask for help, you're not thinking clearly. And so sometimes you just need to take a step back and hide for a second. Oh, that's okay. It's okay. Find quiet places and find quiet spots in crowded places that you can just kind of re-energize yourself. You know, get back to you. Another thing I work on um is, I believe it's called grounding. So for me, when I'm anxious, it's all in your head, right? We know this. You're creating your environment by your thoughts, with your thoughts. But the new people in the chat, just want to remind you to speak when you come into the room and like the video. Say what's up for your girl. What am I talking about? See, I'll get messed up and I'll start looking at the chats. Yeah, so I work on grounding myself. And this means, at least for me, I think there's like several different ways you can ground yourself, like breath work and yoga and meditation. For me, I need something tactile. So I use any of my five senses to sort of bring me back to the present. And oftentimes that means through touch. So I hug myself, right? I'll feel my skin. If I don't have anything, I'll grip my phone, right? To kind of bring my thoughts back to the present, to where I'm not like in my head frantically worrying about things, right? All right, so now I'll read the comments because I kept getting distracted. So now I'm just gonna read the comments and chat. I also will start singing randomly, and I'm not a singer. Eileen said, I'm guessing this is back when I made the grandma comment. Mine would say, use your head more than a hat rack. Use it. So now this comment makes sense. This is my friend Rabia. I don't know if she used initials because she wanted to be discreet, but I put her out there. Everybody, she just graduated PA school. Um, I have a smart friend, everybody. So whatever she says in the chat, believe her. She knows what she's talking about. Angela says she'll catch Tyler Perry this weekend. You should. I would watch it. I'm not gonna start talking about Tyler Perry again. I have critiques. And it should sign me up for a Cabo group trip. That would require me planning a group trip, which causes me anxiety. So I will not be doing. And drink your water. Stay hydrated, everybody. Stay hydrated. Eileen says that was a culture shock for me. We had to take the bus from Edinburgh to London because there was a scheduled strike. Yeah. So actually, when I first arrived with my dogs at the start of my trip, we flew into Ireland and we actually had to take a train from, I don't remember the city in Ireland, but we took a ferry to get to the UK, and then we had to take a train from wherever the port dropped us off at into London. And Lord, that was a mess. There was a strike going on. The train got canceled like 3 times. We ended up arriving way later than I expected. A mess. It was a hot mess. Some of these I read already. Faith says, I have not yet been to a country where I didn't know the name. Do you know what? Unpopular opinion. It ain't that bad. Now, I will say this, Germans are a little intimidating. I already have a video on why I don't really mess with Germany, but I will go back. I will go back. Now that I know, now that I've like peep game and I see, I will go back to Germany. But not knowing the language is not really that serious. Like I have a friend who he already speaks German, but he's learning French and Spanish because he was like, I wouldn't be caught dead in another country without knowing the language. First of all, just say that you enjoy learning languages because that's not a thing. You know, we live in a world where most people do speak English. It's a privilege. It's really a privilege. So I'm not going to tell you not to learn another language, but you can make it. You can make it. And more likely than not, people are willing to help you. That's just my opinion. And I think when you have an optimistic outlook on life, it makes things a little bit easier. Just saying. It says Papago is another good translation app. I will check that out. I'll check that out. Everybody's a fan of a nap. I love a nap. He says I never eat or drink on a flight. I don't want to have to climb from a window seat to back. I mean, I don't know what you got going on. That's your business. I mean, I don't know what you got going on. Faith says, are you finished traveling or just taking a break? I'm taking a little bit of a break. Maybe I'll do a video about that. A lot of things is going on. Kind of a lot of things going on. I think I was starting to feel travel fatigue and I miss my family. And I was like, what am I doing? I didn't really have a plan for. So initially, when I started traveling, it was only supposed to be for a year. It was my first time out of the country long term. I had been to London before. I liked it. And then I was like, oh, I like that. I'll do it again. So I decided to take my dogs with me and spend a year outside of the country. But then it started to dip into this year. Like I stayed overseas. I was in Albania until April, I think April of this year. And I was kind of like, okay, what are my plans? Where am I going next? What am I doing? And I started to miss my family. I have a little goober, a nephew named Jack Jack. And he's 8 this year. And I was like, Jack getting old. I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, I'm gonna come on home. Now I'm over it, ready to go back out again. So we figuring out another plan. New idea. Maybe I want to drive into Mexico with my doggies. D has done it. D from Brown Girl Straight 2 has done it. I'm thinking about doing it as well. So I don't know. I talked to Stephanie Perry, and she was saying just look at the US as another bop, right? So you spent the year bopping around, so maybe you just bop to Texas. So I'm looking at the US as a bop. I don't know what it holds right now, but now I'm here. We'll see what happens. More travel in the future, though. So Shauna says, I don't think you need to know the language, but try to learn the small everyday phrases is helpful. But trying to learn, yes, it is helpful. Because again, people respond to you a lot better when you're using their language. And also, you know, it's cute, isn't it? I enjoy learning languages. Or at least like bits and pieces of languages. I haven't gotten back into studying languages again. I was big into it when I was in high school and younger, but I just kind of fell off. Even college, I took Japanese in college. Um, and then you just get older, your dreams start to die, and you stop doing the things that cause you joy and all that other stuff. So I may start taking up like language classes again. While I was traveling in the different countries that I was in, I would either use an app to learn language certain phrases, or I would take a class. So I was in Spain for 2 months, and so I started taking Spanish classes while I was there. I was in Albania for I was in Albania for a long time. So I got an ship. This, the local language of Albania is called ship. And so I started taking ship classes while I was there. Um, so yeah, that's my answer. Lily says, I went to Tokyo. I was fine with the translation apps, but it was a little awkward at times. Yeah, I'm not gonna hold you, like the translation apps are a little awkward. I remember, especially like when you're talking to older people, because and I'm talking like mama age, like grandma, great grandma. The older people don't understand like you have to speak slowly, and then also, at least this is true of Google, when the light is blue, when the little microphone is blue, that's when you talk, and then you stop talking once it turns off. Like, it makes like a little noise. So they don't really kind of understand the process of it. So there were times where um it wasn't translating right. It was still a little funky. Like they weren't getting all of what was being said, so I didn't understand it. I think in those situations you can always pull a youth to help. So if you see like a little boy or a kid, they tend to know English because they study English in schools. And that's true of a lot of countries. So, and oftentimes the older person will grab their nephew or grab their grandson or whatever it is and say like, hey, can you act as a translator? I remember when I was in Albania, this repairman knocked on my door one morning and was trying to talk to me in ship. And I didn't know what was going on. We tried to do the translator app. It was kind of awkward. It wasn't like catching everything. But one of my neighbors is a little boy who he used to walk my dogs sometimes. And so I asked him for help to let me know what was going on. I knew his mom and everything. So yeah, so I asked him to help, and he spoke English very, very well. And he was probably 11, 10, and he acted as translator. So it's very good. But yeah, pointing, gesturing, smiling. People, there's universal body language. There's universal body language. So like people can figure it out, right? It's not as intimidating as people think it is. It's really not that difficult. He says only the West has the to go culture. Yeah, yeah. Because everybody understands that you can just sit down and eat and finish the meal. Okay. It's not that serious. Trying to think what else we talked about. I feel like we did a lot of hi Zolani from Black Flourishing and Free. Hey girl, hey, good morning. I love it. Everybody's lit. This is Mexico City has so many perks and green spaces with benches. Totally refreshing. I need green spaces and flowing water. Yeah, yeah. Also, if you travel with your dogs, like I did, definitely want to look up green spaces, or you'll end up in Dublin surrounded by brick because that happened. Which I don't know why. I don't know how I ended up at a place where there was no like park while I was in Dublin. You would think Ireland is full of rolling green hills. How did I get in the concrete section of the city where you have to walk across a bridge to get to a park? It was madness. It's madness. Do your research. Do your research. I think another thing is over in Europe, at least, apparently in Latin America, I think in a lot of places outside the US. I haven't been to them all, but still want to travel, get around. My point is, cities are usually built to be more walkable than they are in the US or in certain places in the US. So where I'm based in Texas, not walkable at all. Right? And that means like there's no coffee shops, there's no, there might be designated green spaces, but they're still kind of funky to get to. Like, look at the placement of the entrance of a gate, the entrance of a park. Do you need to be in a car to get to those places? Look at how sidewalks are built. I was watching this guy on TikTok who he goes on these walks and he shows you how unreasonable it is that things are built this way because they kind of make it very, very difficult for you to get around without risking your life when you're walking. But a lot of places like where I was in Europe are built for people who commute on foot, right? They're not really traveling by car in Europe is not it kind of doesn't make sense unless you're doing like long distance traveling because the highways are really cool. But when it comes to like inside actual cities, it's just better to walk and catch public transport. Places definitely need green spaces for my decompressed times. Yeah. And I think that goes back to what I was saying about grounding and being one with nature, being present, you know? For me, I feel like I just learned to recognize those moments of even gratefulness because it's like I journeyed to this new place. Like I made it here. I did a I did a hard thing, as corny as that sounds. So I'm proud of myself. And not only that, I see whatever it is that I came out here to see, right? Like I see the Louvre. I climbed this mountain. I'm on top of the mountain. I'm overlooking, a beach. I'm here. I see this amazing thing that I never thought I would see in my life. As a girl from New Orleans, who doesn't come from a family of travelers, who is to date the only person in her family with a passport. I did not think that I would be on any beach, let alone a beach in the south of France. You know what I mean? Some comments. Yeah, Texas is not walkable. I mean, I guess like certain areas, you can go certain areas and they probably are walkable, but the most of Texas, you need a car. Did you find you were able to take your dogs on public transport in other countries? So because I have two dogs, it got kind of tricky. I could when I was in Spain, uh, but they had to wear muzzles, and they don't like to wear muzzles. Frank will pull his off. And then it just becomes a thing, right? Um, but I think it depends on the rules. So, like in Germany, they can get on public transport. Um, some of them have where you need to have them in a carrier. My dogs are small, so if they're in a carrier, it's fine. If they just have to be on lead, that's okay. I'm trying to think. In Ireland, though, the buses wouldn't take the dogs, and some of the taxis also wouldn't take the dogs. Um, and they told me it was because it was haram. So there's like a large population of Muslims in Ireland, and so some of them would just like reject to pick the dogs up. I don't think it's haram though. Rabia, tap in. She might not be watching, but I think they just didn't want, a dog in the backseat of their car, which is fair. Which is fair. If I didn't, yeah, she said it's not haram. I don't think it was. I think they were just telling me that because they didn't want to bring us wherever it was. Oh my God. Even when I was in Ireland though, I had been rejected by taxi drivers for, I don't know, there were like three different taxi drivers. We were going from the vet. So I talk about this in one of my videos. Um I talk about this in one of my videos. When we got to Ireland, I knew I was going to be traveling for a long time. So I wanted to get them EU pet passports. So we went to the vet in Ireland to get the passports. And then on the way back, I needed to catch a taxi because, again, sometimes the bus drivers wouldn't let me bring them on. And I was like, you know what? I'm not dealing with this. I'm going to call an Uber. Literally, it was like three different Uber drivers rejected me when I said that I had dogs with me. Then the fourth driver who took us was drunk. He was definitely drunk. We alive, but I was like, these are the options. Rabia says, yeah, dogs are unclean in Islam, but it's not like haram. Yeah. Well, that's what they told me. I think they were just, I don't know. I think they were just like, she doesn't know anything because she's black, which erases black Muslims from the chat. But, well, you're in Ireland. Well, yes, but okay. When I was in Ireland, I'm going to preface this by saying I love Irish people. Okay. The friendliest to this day, Ireland, the best location to go. But there were just some very questionable occurrences that happened. For instance, I would be riding the bus and there would be a man who looked disheveled with a black eye and definitely not sober. And this happened on more than one occasion. Now, I'm not going to broad brush and say things about Irish people that other people might say. But that was a time where I was like, this is happening frequently. I'm seeing a lot of people who look hungover on the bus with cuts on their faces and bruises on their faces. Like one may assume that they were in a bar fight. Just saying. Just saying. I don't know. How so may ever. So may ever. I loved Ireland. I love Ireland. I don't know how we got on this. I don't know how we got on this. Just Kendra said, reminds me when I moved to Boston. I don't know what Boston's got going on. I don't know what Boston got going on up there. All I know is park your car. I just embarrassed myself. I just want to remind everybody to like the video. And if you're new to the chat, please speak, drop down in the comments, tell the people hello. Black folk, we talk when we come into the room. Yeah. I pretty much covered all of my tips. I hope you got something from this live. I hope Kendra's clarifying. They have a similar culture and population, but a lot of fun people. Then I need to go pop over to Boston. I like the vibes. Not gonna hold you. I just want people to, practice safe driving. Yeah, I hope you guys got some things from this live. I had a blast. I'm going to try to do this every Friday at 10 a.m. I think this is a good time. I'm awake. I'm awake. Um, but yeah, yeah. Let me know if there's anything you guys want me to chat about while I'm figuring out my content. If there's anything, any questions you may have, put them in the comments. I'm looking at those. I'm interested in making content that you guys are interested in. Make sure to grab my free guide to traveling as an introvert in the comments. I'll put it in the description box. And oh, you guys, I appreciate that. I appreciate the love. More lives. Yes. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy chatting with everybody. Um, so yeah. So Fridays at 10 a.m. Central. Catch me here. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, let me know. Peace out.